Should be live. We should be live.
Thank you, Rebecca. Good evening, everybody. My name is Sarah Shearer. I'm the president of the Board of Trustees of the Albany Public Library and the chair of the executive committee. And I'm going to call our executive committee meeting to order. It is 7:35. We have two items under old business. First, just a quick update on board retreat planning. Has anything happened with sourcing a facilitator?
No, not yet. We haven't sent out that scope of work just yet. We're trying to figure out the best way to communicate that.
Okay. Since our last executive committee meeting, the board was able to put together a list of facilitators. So I can send that to you, and that scope can go out to multiple facilitators. I'm just going to write myself a note. And then, did anybody have any other questions on board retreat planning process? Okay. Oh, thanks, Rebecca. I forgot to ask for public comment. Let's go back and do that now. Is there any public comment?
We have not received any public comment. If anyone from the public wishes to make a comment, you are asked to send an email to publiccomment@albanypubliclibrary.org or call and leave a voicemail at 518-290-6905. Please leave your name and address, and public comments will be read during designated times.
Thank you. Jumping to our second item under unfinished business, it was the board member expectations document that we discussed at our last meeting. We had discussed, I'm just pulling it up now, adding language regarding trustees' responsibilities in regard to facilities and nomination of trustees, because they seem to be missing committees from this list. So I entered some language regarding those duties that any trustee would have in those regards if they were not serving on those committees. So just generally, what are a trustee's duties in those areas? Sorry, trying to pull up multiple windows here. Okay. Do you mind scrolling to the second page with the edits? Thank you. So as far as facilities are concerned, all trustees should keep apprised of the condition of APL buildings and capital projects. And then instead of, I know the committee is nominating, I wrote appointment and nomination of trustees because there are two distinct duties I feel trustees as a whole have, appointing trustees to the board when vacancies arise, and then actively encouraging individuals engaged in the community to run for office. Any discussion or any language anybody wants to change or add to this? Are we missing anything else?
For the piece with the nominations, although the nominations committee, you just mentioned two distinct tasks or jobs. I think having the nomination committee as the title or just nominations, as you did facilities and personnel, would be more consistent.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if I'm explaining this.
Because you have policy, you have personnel, you have facilities, and you have nominations, and then under nominations, you have appoint, and you have another blurb, actively encouraging, and the rest of that. So you mentioned you have your two bullets under there already.
If I'm remembering our last meeting correctly, I'm not sure that I am, but I thought we decided that this document wasn't intended to be just a list of the committees and what the committees do. It was like board members, general responsibilities that come up in the course of being a trustee. And it was only kind of a coincidence that the categories were similar to our committee breakdowns.
Yeah, that's why like
Right.
finance is just,
Misunderstood.
yeah, like, because the full name of the committee is Audit and Finance Committee, and here it's just like the
I got you.
financial, okay.
Other than that, I think it's good to go. The edits are good. I think it's clear.
In order to officially adopt it, I would look for a motion to approve the document.
So moved.
Thank you, Jenna. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Brenda. Any further discussion on the motion? And Rebecca, would you like us to voice vote?
That's fine.
Okay. I'll give you a minute. You need to type stuff?
Nope, that's okay.
Okay. All in favor, aye.
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 Motion carries.
And then moving into new business, we have appointment of trustees to 2 committees. So for this, I'm looking for a motion to move us into executive committee.
Executive session, you mean?
I'll make a motion.
Yes, I'm sorry. Executive session. Thank you, Tom.
Yeah,
So
sorry, I
moved.
knew what you meant.
For the purpose of appointing the committee. Okay.
Oh, appointing individuals to positions. The short form of the very, very long legal one.
Right. I'll adjust that for the minutes. Thank you.
So moved.
Second. Who was the second?
Oh, I'll second.
Any of us.
Yeah.
We all second.
So say we all.
And then do your voice vote.
Aye.
I like that reference, Jenna.
I'm gonna note that it's 7:42 and you're going into executive session. I'll stop share and I will open up a chat. A breakout room. Now, do you want non-committee members in the room or not?
I don't know how that works.
Who do you want in the breakout room?
Typically in the breakout room, the executive director is typically in every executive session. My suggestion would be either me and Melanie, just Melanie, doesn't matter.
I think the question was whether Arlene, Jare, trustees who are not committee members should join.
Oh, I would think you'd have it open to all trustees.
Melanie.
They just can't vote.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's up to the chair, but that.
Right. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Oh, this is the thing. Okay.
Hello.
So Rebecca, I have some people who made a motion for you.
Okay,
Brenda motioned to leave executive session at 8:17.
okay,
Jenna seconded. And it was unanimous.
thank you.
Would somebody like to make a motion appointing trustees to one of the two committees?
I will make a motion to appoint the trustees as discussed in executive session.
Do you want to do it one committee at a time? One committee and then list the trustees?
Sure. I'll make a motion to appoint trustees Donna Dixon, Jared Gauss, and Brigitte Pryor to the Executive Search Committee.
Second that.
Rebecca, let us know when you're ready.
Ready?
Oh, okay. Do you want us to voice vote?
Yes, please.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye. Can you take that, the document down?
Oh, yes, I'm
I'm
sorry.
still seeing a document that says.
Yeah, sorry.
Thanks.
And then you wanted to do the strategic plan?
Yes. If somebody wants to make a motion to appoint trustees to that committee.
I'd like to move to appoint trustees to the Strategic Planning Committee, ad hoc committee.
And which trustees?
Oh, can I move if I'm appointing myself?
Rule of thumb, we try not to, but technically I don't think it's a conflict of interest. But if for ease, if Brenda and Tom, you don't mind doing it.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Jenna Patera and who else is on there? Sarah Shear and Miss Arlene Way to the Strategic Plan Ad Hoc Committee.
Is there a second? Tom, you gonna
Second, yeah. Sorry.
thank you. It's okay. And I know we're a little late on this, but I just realized we didn't appoint chairs to the committees. Do we need to go back in executive session and come out and put that in? No? Okay. Oh, you're on mute, Brenda.
Oh no, I'm just saying no, can't do it. I'm just joking.
Can the committees just elect their own chair, or do we?
Yeah, I think they can. I
wanna
think
talk about it in
these are
executive
strong,
session?
capable folks we got here.
Okay.
I have every
good deal.
confidence they will take care of that.
Okay. There's a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Did I say aye? I'll say aye also. I raised a finger, but
Motion carries? Motion carries.
Yes.
It's okay. Last piece of business, nominating committee description. Rebecca, do you mind pulling it up?
Yep. Working on it.
Thank you. So I'm not sure if everybody got a chance to take a look. There were a couple things that caught my eye off the bat, and then one discussion piece. So the couple pieces for me, the committee description is supposed to be a cut and paste from the bylaws. And this seems to have been crafted by the committee instead of directly coming from the bylaws.
Sorry, I distracted Sarah with a chat.
Oh, it's direct. It's just to me.
Yeah.
Nobody else knows what I'm looking at.
That can be addressed later.
So the committee description, all of the other descriptions pulled directly from the bylaws. So it's the committee charge as charged in the bylaws. And then if you could just scroll down, Rebecca, to the last section. The board docs library, maybe just make those a little more specific. So like PowerPoint presentation, like interested trustee presentation or something like, I'm really thinking these descriptions are good for new trustees. So if trustees are trying to figure out what committees they want to be on and they're not familiar with the committee, just information that would give them a good idea of the committee and what's in board docs. So just a little more specificity. And then the item that I actually wanted to discuss with the committee tonight, do you mind scrolling back up, Rebecca? Thank you. So the nominating committee is proposing that the committee be responsible for facilitating nominations for board membership and board leadership. And currently this is in the executive committee description as well. So I think we should just have a conversation as a board, which committee we want that to go under, and then just amend one of the committee's descriptions so they don't both say it, because right now they're kind of competing. So I don't know if anyone has ideas or, that want to have a discussion about that. Oh, Arlene, if you're speaking, you're on mute.
Okay, I didn't know if I was to just observe. What we were trying to do was to try to create something that would make it easy for future board members to understand through actual work instead of having to try to figure it out every time there's new members. And that's why we were, a little bit more specific. We thought that we were aligned with what the bylaws, were suggesting and the traditional work of that committee. We were just trying to give details so that folk wouldn't be constantly trying to figure out who they were and reinventing the wheel. With regard to the matter with regard to leadership appointments, we thought it would be good in the interest of making sure that every member had an opportunity to consider leadership roles, was that we would create like an opportunity like for a workshop or something so that people could understand the different positions, because there might be some people who might be good and not consider it. And if they aren't asked, if they aren't presented the opportunity, they might not step up, or they may not get invited to consider a particular role. So we're just looking as an opportunity to facilitate diversity and inclusion, adopting this particular aspect. I don't know if it's, I don't know what you do in the executive committee with regard to this. We just wanted people to be aware, of the opportunities so that everyone could be, people might be interested in could get some exposure. That's what that was about.
And I agree with Arlene's comments, and she explained it very well.
Yeah, I actually agree very much as well. I will say the last line that says the nominating committee shall facilitate the election process. I think our bylaws require that the executive committee do that.
So what?
But I do like the idea of like thinking, being more out in the open with leadership positions and how they come to be.
One other thing, with regard to the PowerPoints, we create PowerPoints for people who might be interested in seeking the role. And basically, the PowerPoint outlines the duties, the roles and responsibilities of trustees, the process for becoming elected, and offer pointers to people who may not have ever sought, an citywide elected position, as to how to consider to prepare themselves. So basically, that's what the PowerPoints are about. And we just thought that we would, make that part of our library.
Oh yeah, no, I completely agree. I was just saying if there could be a title, because right now it just says PowerPoints.
Specific. All right.
Yeah, just like interested trustee or whatever the title of the PowerPoint is, so that people know which PowerPoint.
Okay.
Arlene, that's actually a very easy fix because you have traditionally called these items so you want to be a trustee and meet the candidate forum. So those items that we already have, we can, they're already called that. So that's an easy fix.
Right. Okay.
I hope I'm not jumping topics before already, but I would also suggest that under the prepare for citywide elections bullet, it could say something like just about making sure that the petition sheet is up to date and available on the website and like available to candidates, because we usually print them and put them in the library, and then they're also available digitally. I think it might be good to have a reminder in there that to do that, because I think even in the time since I've been on the board, the petition sheet changed, like it got modernized. So it is something to keep an eye on.
Okay, but is that something that the committee does? I don't remember doing that. That's not our work.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's not. Yeah, the nomination committee doesn't do that.
No, we advise about the process, but we don't prepare the form.
Melanie, do you know who does that?
Actually, I think our PR department helps with that. Stephanie Simon, she usually helps put together all of the, like it used to be a folder and that had a lot of interest, a lot of documents in there that are pretty standard for becoming an interested person. And she puts together the packets for people who are actually wanting to be on the ballot to collect signatures.
In that form we
pretty
get from the
certain.
city, I believe.
Yeah, but Stephanie helps facilitate getting all of the information and printed and whatnot.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, if you guys don't think that it needs to be in there, then that's fine.
But you did mention that the last line in here should be changed. Oh yeah, the facilitate the election process.
If my fellow trustees agree with that.
Well, I think that we described what we're going to do in terms of coordinating the workshops on the roles and responsibilities. And okay, so our thing is that we just want people, trustees, everybody, to be aware of the roles and responsibilities of folk who are in leadership positions so that they can prepare or aspire to those roles. We just want to be able to open that up. So explain to me though, how the appointments work in terms of the leadership positions. How does that happen?
Sorry, I'm actually in the bylaws right now. I was looking for something else. I'm trying to see if this is mentioned in the bylaws.
Okay.
Usually people express some interest and to the current executive, and it's kind of, it's informal is my experience. And usually people are chosen after they've had a couple of years on the board.
So, okay, I'm found a section in our bylaws, and I'm remembering bits and pieces of conversations I've had with Bob over the years, and maybe you remember some of it too, Brenda, because we were both on P&G when we reviewed the bylaws, and I remember having a conversation with Bob about this. So technically in our bylaws, it says that officers must be elected annually by secret ballot, which we don't do, for a one-year term by majority vote at the annual meeting upon nominations from the floor. So we do nominations from the floor, but we definitely don't do secret ballot. And I don't remember, I feel like I read that when we were going through the bylaws, and there was a reason why we didn't update it to reflect our practice, and I can't remember now. I do remember hearing the history about why we don't put slates forward. Apparently the board ran into a problem with that years ago, so they changed that. But do you remember any more about those conversations with Bob?
So, but most of that's how you elect your leadership, is that you do develop a slate. You do identify from the group who wants to seek a particular role, and we vote. So why, so who would facilitate that process?
And I think with some of the verbiage that we put in the nominating committee can make it more deliberate so that opportunity is, I think, it creates more opportunity. It also creates, I think, a pathway for someone who may be new to the board and may be interested, but may need some guidance along the way. You have 5 years, most folks, if you're doing a full term, you have 5 years. So what, after that first year, or whatever, you may be interested in a particular office, and part of the nomination committee really connecting with those folks and perhaps help guide them, identify, or help facilitate them to get where they need to go as well. So I do think with the verbiage in this that Arlene put in here certainly provides a greater opportunity.
And it's transparent, I think. It's more transparent.
I agree.
I don't know what the problems were before, but I don't think we should be locked into problems we don't know the personalities. It could have been the people who were involved that created the problem.
If I had to guess what the problem with the slate was, I would think that maybe somebody wanted to vote for 2 or 3 people in the slate, but maybe they didn't want to vote for 1 or 2 people. So maybe they didn't want, 1 vote on 4 people. That might have been it. So it kind of removes trustees' abilities. You know, you have to vote the same, either up or down on the whole slate instead of on individuals.
So, I actually, now that we've talked about it more, now I understand a little bit better, and I like this language even more.
Yes.
This language that the nominating committee put in. I think at the end of the day, the way we should be thinking about it is that it's an open election that anyone can
Yes.
be nominated to
Mhm.
any time, any annual meeting. And so, yeah, it's really just about providing information and making sure that everybody knows the process and the responsibility.
Right.
I'll also say that I do think, I think we should continue our practice of like informally making each other aware of stuff like this. Like I don't think it would be healthy for the board for someone to nominate themselves at an annual meeting without notifying other trustees, just out of like cordiality, just out of just like making people aware. But that can certainly continue with this language added.
Yes, but in the event that a person wants to nominate themselves, they can actually do that. There's nothing saying that a person can't do that. But I agree with what you're saying as well, Tom, but it certainly just, for me, gives that more opportunity, more support for that person, whether it's this year or the following year. They may decide that, okay, well, you know what, I'm interested in that position, but the decisions are already made, so therefore I'm not going to speak up. No, we can eliminate some of that and be more encouraging and supportive of those who may want to step up and go for an office or a position.
Yeah, I completely agree.
I mean, I've been on a commission where, I've been chair and the person nominated themselves from the floor. I mean, they didn't win, but I mean, it was fine with me. The person has that opportunity. So.
Yeah, so I would support this language as is.
Which part?
The last bullet, the facilitate nominating process for trustee leadership. Although just a language thing, which we just discussed, that Brenda and I just said, the second to last sentence says, all trustees will be invited to apply for a leadership position. We don't really apply, we just nominate candidates, right? So maybe we just get rid of the word apply, and it would still have the same meaning.
Right.
And it's currently not a closed process. Currently, we do nominations from the floor, and it is open. But I think what I'm hearing, and I know nobody likes more meetings, but I'm going to throw it out anyway. Kind of like we have an extra meeting every year to just discuss the budget. Maybe this is something where the board wants to consider an extra meeting just to talk about leadership. Or it could be contained within the nominating committee, and trustees are invited to that committee meeting, and maybe you go into executive session and everybody has an open and honest conversation about their interests, and you start putting the pieces together.
I think letting the nomination committee do what they do. And as the verbiage said, whether it's an extra meeting or not, let the nomination committee do as the description says.
So would there be an application? All trustees will be invited to apply for a leadership position?
I agree with what Tom just said as far as apply when folks are actually nominated. So if you take that out, it'll read just the same. So Tom just addressed that. So if you remove the apply piece of it, it still has the same meaning.
And then what about the last sentence? How is the committee facilitating the election process?
I thought that was
By
gonna
hold-
be tricky.
Yeah,
Go
I
ahead,
think, I think by holding a meeting like you just described, Sarah, would be one way, but also like creating a,
Doing
either
our
Google Doc-
forums, doing the PowerPoints, doing the education, I think all
Exactly.
that facilitates the election process.
Yeah.
So if, those informational pieces, those things that Arlene just mentioned, all those do facilitate the election process.
I would argue they don't facilitate it. I would argue they inform it. And I might change that word facilitate because it makes it sound like they call for the election, which they don't do.
That was how I read it, like at the meeting.
Yeah. What do you think about changing that language to inform the election process, or informs the community about the election process, something like that?
Actually, we are facilitating because what we are helping to organize the process. So yes, we're helping everybody to be informed about what it is, and creating opportunity for anyone who wants to seek a position. So to me, we are talking about facilitating, and I guess, yeah, I can't think of another word. It is a process that we are organizing. How is the mechanics of it? So that is what we're doing. We're helping to, I don't know, make the mechanics of the process possible, transparent and inclusive of all trustees. We're helping.
I agree.
Okay, so.
yeah,
Could we use the language that you just used? That, the nominating committee facilitates a transparent and inclusive election process. Something like, so it doesn't sound like I just wouldn't want future trustees to be like, how do we do this? Do we have to call for an election, like call the board of electors? I think that the way you described it just now had more clarity.
I actually don't see anything wrong with the sentence, but
So I don't know. I guess when I step back and look at the bullet point as a whole, unlike all of the other bullets where they have months listed for when the committee meets, like February, March, April, I think this one is confusing me because it says annual meeting. So when I read everything under the bullet, it sounds like the nominating committee is going to take applications from people and put a slate forward at the annual meeting. And like, I don't know, it's not work like at a nominating committee meeting. It says it's going to be done at the annual meeting.
The annual meeting is when the election occurs, right?
Right.
So we could, and we can figure this out about the when of it. But when would be the good time to offer a workshop or a session on the roles of trustees? Would we do it at the annual meeting, or would we do it at retreat? I don't care, just as long as we get it done and we do it in a consistent way. I think we put this here for the annual meeting because that's when elections occur. So it could make sense to have such a session at that time, so everyone who is there understands the roles and responsibilities and have an opportunity to consider if they would like to seek a position, a leadership position. It could be the time that we start that conversation about, roles and responsibilities of our leaders, and have some real conversation about who might want to be nominated for a particular position. So I guess we're just right now at this point talking about when.
Yeah, I mean, I would think maybe 3 months prior, so people make the decision whether they're going to run. Because if it was at the annual meeting, I would think people wouldn't have any time to make that decision.
I mean, to me, I would say that in practice, probably most of the educating is going to be done on an as need basis, right? Like think about the past year. We had Jare join at the annual meeting, got elected in the spring and joined at the beginning of the fiscal year. And now Donna is joining midway through the year. And then we'll have 3 or 4 more trustees join next spring. So I think in practice, it doesn't really happen at one time. And maybe the best, like what will end up happening is that we'll have like PowerPoints and written documents that educate people just as much as we have like an in-person meeting. So maybe we just get rid of the annual meeting and just have no time for
No,
now.
I suggest that we have some structure here, and there are 2 times that I can think of that make sense. We have retreats and we have our annual meeting. And we can do this at either one. But I think that is something that we should plan for annually, whether it's at the annual meeting or our annual retreat. Either way works for me.
I agree, Arlene. And also knowing that we're going to do this annually does not preclude us for doing it on an as needs basis as well. So we're definitely sure that we'll do it annually, but that does not mean that we will not be available or provide these bullets of this committee elsewhere. Just like Tom mentioned, other people join at different times, so.
So yeah, I mean, I'm fine with it the way it is. I don't know, it doesn't make a ton of sense to have the word annual meeting there just because it won't happen at the annual meeting, but I don't, it's not probably not worth holding our meeting up longer.
Yeah, so I mean, I really just, the 2 things I mentioned earlier, if the first section could be the actual charge from the bylaws, because it's cited, so that needs to match. And then if the board docs library could just get more specific, because I think there are even other documents in there now that didn't get listed here. So those are just my feedback.
Okay.
Another thing that Tom mentioned, deleting the apply and formulating that particular sentence, and it reads well.
Okay.
Taking that out, as Tom said.
Okay. That's fine. Those are easy.
Yeah.
And as a final comment, I think that the discussion we just had about this process and leadership would be good to revisit at our retreat. That would be a good thing to continue talking about.
Okay.
Scott, can you add that to the scope? Thank you. Just like a bullet so we don't forget. If nobody has anything else, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Have a good night.
Good
Night,
night.
everybody.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.